Hi, this is Donald Pierce, back with you again with the Navajo Apache Fathers Project. We are the podcast that informs you of methodologies and ways to help you be with your kids. Today in the studio I have Jacob Stradling with me, and we're just going to go over some of the struggles that he's had as a parent, some of the methods that he used. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Jacob.
Hi, I'm Jacob. I'm so grateful to be able to be here talking with Donald and to share a little bit with you about some of the struggles that I've faced as a young father. I've been married for about 3 years to my beautiful, wonderful wife, Bridget. I have a 2-year-old daughter named Amiria, and she's absolutely adorable, and she's a huge ball of energy.
I really appreciate that, Jacob. Now, as you know, some of the stuff that we talk about here on the show are a lot of the statistics that come with fatherlessness, like how you're 4 times more likely to experience teen pregnancy if your father is out of the house. You are 4 times more likely to be in poverty if the father is out of the house, and all of the issues that come with that. And so, again, just for our viewers, the main focus is just to ensure that just to remind you that you don't need to be perfect, and that kids don't need perfect, they just need a dad.
Yeah, I would say that kids don't need perfect, they need present.
Yeah, right. And again, for all those social media people out there, remember the hashtag of the month is #dedicated-to-play. So if you could just keep that in mind, throw that up whenever you get a chance, and we'll go ahead and get on with the interview. So Jacob, what was one of the biggest challenges that you've had with Amiria recently, and what's a method that you discovered that we can share with our viewers that helped for you to overcome that?
Oh man. Parenting a toddler, especially a 2-year-old, presents many challenges, and so I'm just trying to think, which one do I want to share? My wife and I right now, we are potty training, or attempting to.
Yeah.
And we call Amiria our little teenager. Because she, if you look at the behaviors of a toddler and a teenager, they're in very similar phases of life. Mm-hmm. They are developing their independence and learning what they can and what they cannot control in their life.
Right, and that can be such a struggle because they can't control anything, and yet they're so demanding.
Yes, and as a father, you really have to learn to give control. That's been one of my greatest struggles. Is I have an innate, I don't want to say necessarily desire, but it really is a desire. I desire control, and I don't always recognize that a lot of my behaviors are directed towards controlling my environment and what's going on and what's happening in my life. And my toddler, Amiria, challenges that on a daily basis.
Well, and that's just manhood. Like, we are built to orchestrate households and to manage work sites and to, we were the hunters back in the day. We still are. We bring home the bacon, or we make sure that things are just facilitated. And so when we don't have control, like with a toddler, it can come to the point where we just don't want to be around them.
Yeah, and that puts a lot of stress on fathers. I know a lot of fathers, especially because today's society is, in America, we've become very much a me first society.
Right. Which is not wrong, but there's implications with that.
Yeah, and because we have a cultural mindset of that, even those individuals who are, aware of that still fall prey to that me first mentality. And we grow up, especially coming out of our teens into early adulthood, we've been dating, we've been doing things for ourselves, doing activities with our friends, then to all of a sudden have a kid, and have to put their wants and their needs first and have to set aside our projects, the things that we want to do, it's a huge mind shift.
Like, that might be an understatement. Like, you have to become a new person.
Yeah, you
Like,
really
that's
do.
a lot. So back to Amiria. So when you're potty training and you have to, like you had said, you have to give control.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you methodize that?
So giving control in any situation, as we've mentioned, is important, and learning to, as a parent, to give freedom within boundaries. So for Amiria, one of the things that my wife and I have been practicing doing, obviously, as mentioned before, we're not perfect, and there's times where I just forget or I don't do it. But we offer her choices that are both choices are acceptable to us as the parents, whether she chooses. That way, we as parents know that whatever the child chooses, it will be within the boundaries that are acceptable. And then the child, Amiria, she feels like she has some control over her life. So, for example,
and I'm assuming that takes a little bit of forethought.
Yes.
Like, you can't just. Well, I don't know. You tell me. In these experiences, are you able to just generate them right at the moment, or do you have to think about it beforehand?
No, and that's part of where the struggle comes in, because toddlers will introduce you to new situations that you didn't expect all the time, and so a lot of times the first experience, I don't know what choice to give, and afterwards it's easier. For example, when it's bathroom time, we've been setting a timer for about 15 minutes throughout the day, and then asking her, Amiria, do you need to use the bathroom? And trying to help her recognize and learn her body when she needs to go to the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
And if she says no, we will offer her, okay, do you want to try to go to the bathroom now, practice, or do you want to wait 5 minutes?
So that those options give her the sense that I'm in control. So back to what you were saying. The toddlers are like teenagers, right?
Yeah.
They both want that control, but the issue is that toddlers can't do anything. They have no control. And so giving them that semblance of they have a little bit of control,
mm-hmm.
they become compliant without being domineered.
And the same is true of teenagers.
Yeah. But yeah. And so then for some of our listeners, they're just starting to contemplate coming back and being present, and I would like to recognize that while Jacob has his family together, these are not struggles that you guys are not dealing with. And so for them, how would you relate this to somebody who is just deciding to come back and be present with the family, and they're just beginning to make the decision to be cohesive and interact with their child again?
Yeah, I think this goes back a little bit to what we were mentioning earlier, that you got to remember that you are going to have to change. You cannot come into this scenario expecting to be the same person that you've been.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
what's their reward for doing this?
So the reward is you will become a person who feels more love and is able to not only love their family, but your work relationships will benefit, your friendships will benefit as you learn the skills of fatherhood. The skills of fatherhood are the same skills that make leaders in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And my two biggest pieces of advice would be have patience with yourself and have patience with your children.
Mm-hmm. Now, would you say, we've only got a little bit of time left, but would you say that it's okay to practice this like 2 or 3 times a day, just starting out, and then to implement it more and more as you're going along?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, thank you for coming on the show today, Jacob. I really appreciate your story and sharing those methods with us and really allowing us to connect and embrace this change that we're all trying to capture in our lives.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me, Donald.